Welcome, everybody. I know a lot of familiar faces, but a lot I don't know, so I'm really glad that you're here. We thought this would be kind of a fun evening, a little more relaxed rather than everybody sitting in rows. And have some nice hors d'oeuvres and cocktails, wine, punch, coffee. A couple of things before we get started. I'd like you all, if you haven't had a chance, there's a table right outside this door, if you would sign in. It's nice to know who comes to the programs. Then we can keep track and know, how well we're doing. Also out there, I have to put a pitch for membership. All right, this is for this year. Starts in January and goes till December. So please give it some thought. We rely on membership for the bulk of our finances. And also, we are eating these folders from the Bicentennial out on the desk. If anybody wants a folder to keep their important papers in, please. We'd like to share them with you.
That's great.
All right. So I think we're all here tonight wondering if we have, what?
Are you gonna wait till later for Andy?
Oh, yeah. If you have that item that you're going to be able to retire to the Bahamas, buy that boat, sail around the world, right? Isn't that what we want to know?
That's a good one.
Yeah, I know. Well, I am. Because I'll never get there. But I did remember one thing. We have a birthday today.
Oh, gee.
And we want to sing happy birthday to our vice president. All right, everybody.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Andy. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Without any more talk, I'll hand it over and you can find out what you have.
Excellent.
All right? Thanks,
Good
Mark.
evening, folks. Thanks for coming and thanks for having me. Tell you a little bit about myself and then we'll get into the antiques and market prices and things of that nature. So my name is Mark Elzapidi. I own Watermark Antiques and Gold over in Oakdale. I also own Bay State Gun Buyers, which we buy and sell firearms, contemporary, antique, etc. Been in the business about 30 years. I used to be in high tech as an engineer and I got the bug going to yard sales and then going out to antique stores, and I took the golden handshake about 17 years ago and haven't looked back since. I started off collecting radios and then kind of got into wristwatches, which we do an awful lot with. We have a 4th generation watchmaker that works for us, so we fix all kinds of, mostly wrist, but we fix pocket as well. And I want to talk a little bit about the business before we get started, and it's all going to be underlined under "Don't shoot the messenger." The hardest part of my job is telling people that their stuff isn't worth anything. I'll be honest. And they come in, I swear to God, they come in and they think they have the Mona Lisa, and it just isn't really worth that much. I mean, well, I'm using that as an example. So the market, unfortunately, has taken a horrible downturn in the last 10 years, and I use a few things as analogies. One would be furniture. A 1940s mahogany bedroom set, headboard, footboard, bureaus, nightstands. 10 years ago, $2,000. Today, you can't get $200 for that. So we avoid furniture with very few exceptions like the plague because nobody wants the stuff. And the issue is the young people, they just don't want it. They go to IKEA, they want to buy the presswood that eventually falls apart. They don't see the value in the older items. So when we get young people in the store, I'll sell them things at cost just to show them how great the quality is and try to get them to get the antique bug. But it's a challenge and a half. Some furniture that is super hot right now would be arts and crafts, which is kind of mission style, mortise intended, very masculine, leather type. Also mid-century modern, something that like George Jetson would sit on to exaggerate the point. But other things like oak bureaus and rocking chairs and general furniture, it's literally worthless. And that's very, very sad. The other thing that I get a call 10 times a day is grandma's set of china. And unfortunately, grandma's set of china is worth zero in today's market with very few exceptions. If the queen ate on it, or if I don't even care if it's every other set has gold plating. Oh, it's 22 karat gold plated, but if you pulled the gold off that, it wouldn't be worth 5 cents. So what's happening again is the old folks are passing away, they give it to the kids don't even want it. So there's a huge supply and there's absolutely no demand. So if you have sets of china, eat on it and enjoy it because you're just not gonna get any money for it. Also want to talk a little bit about appraisals. I'm a generalist, but I really specialize in high-end watches, in diamonds, in jewelry, in guns, in advertising signs, toys, things like that. When you watch the roadshow, you'll see they have a whole panel of people that are all experts in certain fields. And they all consult with each other before they go ahead and get on camera and give a price. So I'm going to do my best tonight. I don't have an internet connection, so I can't jump on a laptop, but most things, I've been doing it 30 years, I've seen it. I can get a pretty good idea of what it's worth just off the top of my head, because most things I see every single day in the business. Final thing I wanted to talk about is appraisals, where we specialize in jewelry, diamonds, things like that. People come in clutching an appraisal on a diamond. If you have an appraisal that says your diamond is worth $5,000, that means that you can buy it at the mall for $2,500. That means I sell it for $1,250. So that's one of the hardest things for folks to grasp. They've paid X, their jeweler says it appraised for double, but it's just a completely unrealistic number that only insurance companies make out on, unfortunately. So without further ado, whoever has the, oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, I think I did share that with some people. You have a number, and what we're going to do is call number 1 and then do one of your items and then go to number 2 and number 3, just so that we spread it around.
Okay.
And thought that would be a little bit different way to do it.
All right, so whoever has the first number can come up, tell me what you know about the piece, maybe a little back history so that people can get involved, people can ask questions, and then I'll give you an idea. Final thing is values. What the prices that I'm going to quote tonight are going to be basically a retail price, what a dealer would ask for in a shop, or pretty much what it would bring at auction. So obviously a dealer's got to make money. They're going to probably take a third off of that because they might sit on the merchandise for several years oftentimes, unless it's something hot. So having said that, we'll move forward with some objects. You can put it right up there if you want.
There's 2 sets of these, one has all the same marks, the
Okay.
others have different marks on it.
Okay,
So I think these are cheaper.
all right. Yeah, so that's, unfortunately, this is the thing, Here Hummel's, and that market has suffered so dramatically, the Hummel market. Most Hummels you see are figurines that are multicolored, painted, etc. People come in clutching a book that quotes Hummel prices from 10 years ago. A Hummel that was $300 10 years ago is $30 today. So all this kind of, bric-a-brac almost, it just doesn't have a tremendous amount of value. So this looks like it's a manger set.
Yeah.
In this market, if it's complete and you have the creche and so forth, you're probably looking at around $150 for everything.
Okay,
10 years ago, it would have been a whole lot more.
all right.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Wait another 10 years.
Wait, well, in another 10 years, it's gonna be $15.
Just enjoy it at Christmas.
That's right, enjoy it.
About your own,
Yeah.
Okay, who's got number 2?
But you're bringing these 2 home first. You're gonna bring. So you. bring
Anybody?
one and then I'll get it.
Hello,
How are you tonight?
good, how you doing?
Not too bad.
You wanna put your book up here?
This is a pulpit Bible,
Okay,
Prince James
okay,
from 1793.
interesting.
What's the date?
1793.
Wow.
The prayer of the Lord came with it.
Very nice. How long has it been in your family?
Not mine. I purchased it. I used to go to the state sailing when I was in Florida. They was moving to California. Sold it to me for $40.
That's fair.
It was in her family. She was English. It
Okay.
was her great, whatever,
Sure.
grandfather's. Because he was the deacon or whatever.
Okay.
So that's where that came from.
Okay. So she's got a very old Bible, 1798.
To see it.
Some of the higher end Bibles were actually leather bound, really tooled leather, really gorgeous pieces. This is, in this market, this Bible right here is worth probably around $75 to $100. This one is worth about $25 to $30. I should have talked about books because everybody calls me with books. And every house has stacks of books. For a book to have value, it's got to either be first edition, author signed, lavishly illustrated, unusual subject matter, something like that. So just because it's old, doesn't mean it's valuable. You know, these books you see at yard sales, 50 cents on the dollar. You happen to have two better ones, and that's my opinion about value.
Okay, thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.
Still got a good deal on it.
There you go. That's right. Okay, who's got number 3?
So no, yours is a pair. What do you want? No, yours is the pair. What do you want me to bring up? Because we have the same number. So bring this one. Okay. So you're bringing those two. And I'm bringing
Very, very unusual to have just a single. I want to look at its bottom, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
So is it Mark Sterling that you know of?
It's Mark Bradley and Hubbard. I don't believe it's Sterling.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing copper coming through here. It's quite unusual. I would have, quite frankly, thought there'd be a pair of them. And it's quite unusual for Bradley and Hubbard to have a silver-plated object. Normally, most of what they have is cast iron or bronze. So that's quite unusual. So Mark Bradley and Hubbard on the bottom, huh? Interesting. You would put a candle there. Quite nice. If you look real close, you can see on the high spots where the silver's coming through, so it wouldn't be solid silver, which would have made it much more valuable. Still very unusual. I've never seen.
Candles push up.
Yep, which is great. You know, you get the most out of your candle. Just like the old push-ups, the brass candlesticks. You know, back then you had to use every single quarter inch of that candlestick. So I would say where it's a single, it hurts the value a little bit, but I think it's probably worth between $100 and $150. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it in. It's a nice object.
You want to show this one? We're doing them one at a time, aren't we?
I don't know, where's the boss? One at a time. Okay.
So we'll go around again with the numbers and then you can do your second.
Okay.
You have to remember all the numbers.
Good thing I didn't get that line. All right.
It's the Von Briggles.
So do you want to talk about the Van Briggles while you're up here? Like how long it's been in the family, how you got it?
A great aunt.
Okay,
I just got it.
okay.
It's mine.
Very good.
Not theirs.
No, it's family, let's be clear.
Okay. Yeah, so, you know, pottery is very different than glass and china, and it's actually a fairly strong market. You know, Van Briggle is a decent name. There are certainly names that are much higher in terms of value.
What?
Yes, but still, this would have held flowers. It's quite nice, not damaged. In a shop, about $100. Okay, that's that. This is better. This is better than that. Mark Van Briggle, a little more desirable in terms of its form, etc. It's from roughly the 1920s, and this would be more around $150.
Good job.
Good job. So now you have to
one number, but different set.
Okay, all right.
So
What can you tell me about this?
Liz, help her.
Oh, it's a Morse code. Yeah,
So sorry.
that's all right, like dot dash, you know.
Yeah.
I would say World War I era, certainly.
Yeah, that's what we knew, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Let me see who the maker is on it. Strongberg Carlson. They were actually known for making radios and things of that nature. Always better if there's two, because if there's no one on the other end to hear your dots and dashes. But it's in wonderful condition, still has the leather on it and everything. In a shop, you're looking around $50 to $75.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing it in.
I think your watch is gonna be a buzz.
Oh, no, they're number 4. Somebody must be number 5.
Something's gonna be a five.
Someone's number 5? Oh, okay. He's got a knife, watch out.
No, it's not that shit.
Okay, so this is a bayonet.
Because we paid them.
You know, not an expert on them, handled many. This bayonet obviously would have gone on the end of a rifle and used for exactly the purpose that it was made. It's serial numbered. I believe it's American. Again, I'm not an expert in this. I'd have to do a little checking, but I have had many of these in the past. This is brass. It's nice. This would have fit right in the end of a rifle. It's got the original scabbard, and in terms of value, about between $100 and $125. Yeah.
Oops, I got the rest of that over.
So this is a dresser set made of celluloid and glass. It's had a hard life, as you can see. Oh, be careful.
Who looked at it?
And, yeah. Does anybody know what this is? We'll have a little,
Hair.
what is it?
Hair receiver.
Very good, hair receiver. Now, you know, you think, wow, why would they have that? Well, people like to receive their hair then, I guess. Yeah. What is it?
Oh, they put hair in it?
Yes, yeah. So when you comb your hair, you take it off the brush and you put it in there. So So these are celluloid and glass, and, you know, they've had kind of a hard life. The celluloid gets a bit of a cancer, and they're quite common, actually. This is like a manicure set that would have had several other implements with it, but the whole lot in the shop might be around $20, unfortunately. Quite common. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know there's a rifle available around here, very short. I can find it within the building. I don't know.
Well, worst case, you could bring it right down to me. Then I can go on the laptop and tell you exactly what
I
it's
haven't
worth.
worked out here for 10 years, but I did work about 15 years before that, rehabbing this
Oh,
building.
nice.
So,
Well, thanks for your efforts.
Yeah,
Beautiful,
thank you,
beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful building.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a stopwatch from my grandmother's uncle,
Grandmother's uncle.
and grandmother's brother, I'm sorry.
Grandmother's
Sorry.
brother.
And from what I see, it says Waltham inside.
Okay. So, going to talk about watches for a couple of minutes. I look at probably 200 pocket watches a week. Everybody thinks they're rare. They're extremely common. Everyone on the planet had one before like 1915. Some are good, some are not so good. Most are $25 to $50. This particular one is a hunter case model because it has a door on the front. In the old days, before they invented the hunter case, hunters would break this glass every time they'd go over a wall or something like that when they were hunting. So they said, hey, watchmakers, come up with a case so that the glass won't break every time we go out hunting. So they came up with the hunter case. So I'm going to open up the bag. It's going to take me a second or two to do this and take a look at what's under the hood. And everybody thinks just because it looks like gold that it's gold. This one is not gold, but it is 17 jewel. And it does have a very, very pretty face, which is a plus. On the inside back cover, it says guaranteed 20 years. And what that means is the maker of the case, which is very different than the maker of the movement. They always subbed out the cases, they made the movements. You take it in and out of your pocket 30 times a day. The maker guaranteed the gold wouldn't wear through to the base metal for 20 years. If it did, you could go back in, get your money back on your case. So this is a 20-year case, not solid gold, but it is a hunter case. It's what they call a 14 size. That's a certain size diameter. And it's better than average because of the beautiful dial on it, almost like a mother of pearl. The hands would be solid gold, 17 jewel. In a shop, this would be about $150 to $200, where your average pocket watch would be $25 to $50. If it was gold, $500, $600.
What's the metal in it then?
So it's brass. So it's gold. It's basically a sheet of gold over brass. That the gold is guaranteed not to wear through for 20 years. Some are 25, some are 30, and of course we love to buy the gold ones, which we have probably 400 at the shop at any given time. Yeah. Okay, who's next?
Number 8.
7?
That number.
I think that was 6. We're on 7, maybe. Wow. Sold by the pound. Yeah. I wonder if I want to put it up on here. Oh, you got your chain.
I've been carrying that around for 25 years. My
Okay.
wife always wanted to know what it was worth.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to put it on here because it's really not. Yeah. So, all right. When you first look at this, you go, oh my God, it's a wonderful bronze, but it isn't. It's bronzed, not bronze. And the difference is, like the pocket watch case, this is a sheet of bronze over base metal, which is pot metal, spelter, white metal. None of them are happy words. So when you look at it from underneath, you can see that white metal, and I'm going to give you the perspective. This is bronzed over pot metal, worth in the shop probably between $150 and $200. If it was bronze, it would be like $2,000 to $3,000. Huge difference.
I'll buy it.
Well, it does, but you know, this guy who did this would have originally done a huge one, and then these would be knockoffs from that original. Yeah. You want me to carry it back for you?
I can get it.
You sure?
Slowly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
I
Okay.
like it. Are we going back around if we have multiples?
I think so.
Okay. My uncle sent this to my mother from Ethiopia
Okay.
in between 65 and 68.
Oh. So this is from Ethiopia, the people that are holding out on the black box on the Boeings, right? You know them. I'm just gonna look, it's probably a high carat gold. It looks like 22. I'm quite sure it's 22. And then it's a matching set of earrings with it, and just kind of to get an idea, I'd say probably 300 to 400. Yeah? Yeah? Thank you.
She's hardly ever worn it.
Well, she should wear it and enjoy it. Wear it and enjoy it. Okay, I think number 8 maybe?
You were 8, right, man?
8, okay, number 9. Lucky number 9.
Grandmother bought out of the store for her. That was a cheap, it was titanium. So when I went to a.
Oh, that's adorable.
Gave me about
Okay, so it's a little toothpaste,
I
Woods
was happy that.
Areca nut toothpaste, chemist in Plymouth, very cool. You know, it's just a little tchotchke thing, but these didn't survive. You know, you see how just adorable it is.
Yeah.
And it's advertising, and advertising is very hot, one of the few things that is hot today.
Oh, good to know.
So, you know, again, it's just small, but I would say in a shop, someone would probably want $50 to $60 for that.
Oh, well, that's a nice surprise.
Absolutely,
Thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely.
I was 175.
So I think we're on.
That's what we wanted.
Yes. Hello, young man.
We come bearing something that's either really, really old or a really good knockoff.
Yes.
From the Colonial across the street.
Oh, right
60
across,
West
yeah,
Street.
you've been in before, I think, right? You look familiar? No?
Yeah, before we moved there, we've been in.
Okay.
But we don't know if that's the original. Yeah.
Let me just look a little more.
Yeah.
With their lot.
It's upstairs in the closet.
You know, I think it's got age, but I don't think it's as old as it wants to be. I mean, if you put a gun to my head, I'd say it's probably from like the 1940s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it's primitive, but it just doesn't have the wear and the character that something from the early 1800s, like it wants to be, should
Right, I
have.
wasn't sure it was actually forged by a blacksmith or if it's just a really good knockoff.
No, it's forged by a blacksmith, definitely.
Oh, okay.
But,
All
you know,
right.
my brother's a blacksmith, he still makes these
Yeah.
today, so. In terms of value, not a whole lot, maybe $20, $30.
Yeah, I figured it wasn't necessarily, even
But
if it
it's
was really
nice.
old. Yeah.
No, it's nice.
Neat.
Thank you so much. Thanks for bringing it out. That was 10, so we're on 11. Lucky 11. Okay, what can you tell me about this?
I got a good story.
I can tell you it's been sitting in my attic for probably 30 years.
Okay,
Given to me by my mother. She
Okay.
was a collector.
okay,
And not at all my style. I would never hang it in my house. She didn't care that it was damaged. It was the fact that she liked it. So,
Okay.
and I started to clean it, and the paint started to flake. And I said, I guess we're not cleaning it then.
yeah.
So
I
you're
would
holding it
leave
now.
Okay, I would leave it as it is. So it's kind of a federal style. This material is called gesso. It's like a plaster with a gold over it. Very much American theme. And these originally would have come out in like the mid-1800s. This one is much newer. I mean, you can often tell a lot about something by its back, whether it's a painting or a mirror or whatever. This, I firmly believe, would be more from like the 1930s. Does have some damage. In terms of value in a shop, 75 to 100. Yeah.
Question, would it have standed alone? Would it have been a standalone
No.
piece on a mirror? Or would it
Yes, hung on a wall.
hung on a wall, but
Yes.
a standalone mirror on itself, not
Correct,
attached
not
to
part
So
of
you
a
can see,
bureau.
you can see around the corner.
There you
Right.
go.
No, it is, it's
Good, yeah.
it's
Convex.
concave, so if it was right, or convex,
Yeah.
sorry, so if it was right where you're standing, whoever
Yeah.
was there in the room
The other way.
would be able to see. Yeah, it was good for serving servants.
Or spy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nice.
All right, where are we, number
Bill,
12?
you were 11?
I was
12.
All right, 12.
Hello.
Hello. I know very little about this.
Okay,
I think it's Candlewick,
okay,
and that's all I know.
all right. I don't know what candlewick is, so I couldn't even speak to that. I mean, it looks like it's hand blown to me.
Yeah.
There's no marks as far as who made it. But it's cute, it's presumably a cream and sugar.
Yeah.
But again, this kind of stuff has just really suffered dramatically. Not knowing Candlewick and that name,
Yeah.
I mean, just the way it is, 20, 25 bucks. Yeah. But if Candlewick is a magic name, like say Tiffany or something,
I don't know.
okay.
Better than a sharp stick in the eye.
Yes. absolutely. So, lucky 13.
I've heard of Candlewick. You have? Yeah.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
Illinois.
So what can you tell us about this?
Well, my mother-in-law passed away.
Okay.
And my father-in-law invited all of us women to come and see what we'd like to take as a memento of her.
Okay.
And I never saw her wear them,
Mhm.
and I've never seen them except for when he was demonstrating what we could take if we'd like to. So
Well,
I don't know anything about it, but you can take them out.
yeah, I'm gonna take them out and get right in their knickers. So they're absolutely wonderful. They're
Yes.
Victorian period, rose gold. I'm gonna see if they're real gold, but I've got some at the shop that are. And then they have gorgeous enamel inlay. People were smaller then. This is before McDonald's.
Yes,
so-
it doesn't fit my ass.
Yeah, not that I'm in any position to talk. But I would want to test it, but just based on my knowledge of these things, I would say that they are gold. And in a retail scenario, in the box, which you never see, you're looking around $900 to $1,100.
Thank you, Nan.
The winner of the night. No, you picked a good one. That's really, really great. Really
What?
good.
I think it'd be nice if people could
Pardon
see
me?
them.
Victorian, 1880.
Yeah, you want to pass them along so you can see them.
If they're minus one, you'll be okay, right?
What's that?
There's only one when you get it back.
Thank you.
No.
So Victorian,
An empty
were they, this is my question, were they cuffs to go with the dress?
No, they were just worn as a, a jewelry item when you wore different outfits. But the problem is, a lot of people, unless they're really tiny, can't wear them.
No, right,
Yeah.
right.
So, but they're absolutely gorgeous. I'll give you the cover. If you want to sell them, we'll love to buy them.
My wife has a small wrist.
There you go.
My trip to Costa Rica.
Okay, so, what are we up, not like 14 maybe?
Mark, I think we have 16 numbers out.
Okay.
So once you get to 16, you can start over with number 1 if people,
That'd be good for the memory.
Okay.
And the other thing is, please feel free to get up and get some more food.
Okay, so if you turn around and show it to the audience for me, please, okay? And what do you know about it?
Not much.
Okay, well, I can help you. Yeah.
My grandparents bought an old house.
Okay.
It was in the basement.
It was in it, yeah. These were mostly made by Rogers. They're absolutely silver plate. And they'd kind of be part of what they call a libation set. Beautifully adorned with swans, and oftentimes they'll be lined, so that they would hold hot or cold beverages. Many of them sat in a cradle, and they came with 2 goblets, and hence the libation aspect of it. Believe it or not, quite common, not a lot of value in a shop, like maybe $40 to $60. If it was complete with the yoke and the other goblets and stuff, more like $100. Thank you. It's very nice.
I just wondered what they did.
Yeah. Yes. All right, so we got 15 maybe?
Decoration piece.
There's not a bubbler you mean?
I really like it.
Yeah, I do too.
Hello.
Yeah. I would just.
Good, how are you?
Because then it would look torn.
Okay.
Sometimes you're better off just leaving the stuff the way it is. Yeah.
Okay. So we're looking at a gold coin in a gold bezel on a gold chain. I'm going to take a little look at it more closely so I can give you an appraisal. Okay. So it's actually a $5 US gold piece from 1883. And I'm sure the chain is going to be 14 karat. No, it's actually 9 karat. So the chain came from England. And the bezel is actually 9 karat too. So that's quite odd, actually, that you'd have an English bezel, English chain, and American coin. In terms of value,
Collected those different coins and then he had that
made.
together.
Okay, made. I wonder if he had it made in England because it's such an odd carat. 375 is 9 karat, and really indigenous to England. In terms of value in a shop, you're looking at around $500.
Wow, tell it. Wow, that's really nice.
Well, more than the chain. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. 1883, I believe. Yeah. We buy a lot of $2.50, $5, $10, $20 gold coins. They're quite, we buy them on a daily basis. Okay, so I think we're ready for 16, maybe.
Yeah.
Anybody have 16? Okay. Come on up, Nate.
I have dogs.
Okay.
And what I think is unique about these dogs is they're a pair. There's a female and a male. Most of my Staffordshire pairs are the exact same size.
Okay.
These are different. And you're going to notice that the dog and I had a very good time
Yeah, I can
tossing
see
it
that.
off the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely adorable, but this one,
Yeah,
suffered
it's-
an accident.
It certainly
But
did.
they're great terriers. I mean, when I think of Staffordshire, I think of a very different dog than
Yes.
this particular breed, but I think they're great. I love the little spike collars, obviously English, probably turn of the century, 1920s. That really hurts them.
Yes.
If it didn't have the crack, I'd say probably $50, $60, but now with the crack, maybe $30, $40.
Okay, thanks.
But they're
a lot.
wonderful. They're really nice.
They're fun.
Yes.
And they're different from what I normally have. with
Absolutely,
Staffordshire.
yeah, I love that breed, yeah. Okay, we can start, I think, back to one, yep. You guys didn't bring anything? You just here for the show?
Absolutely.
Okay.
She keeps saying,
Heckle them.
I sure thought.
Well, you can always come to my store, I'll give you a card, I'm 2 miles from here, I'm there Wednesday through
Right
Saturday.
on the other
9:30.
side of the pond.
Yeah, right across from the Methodist Church, on the other side of the pond, yes. Okay, you took the...
Should I take this out and check out?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. So this wood was so scared it got petrified. But I'm fine. So, it's a sliver of petrified wood. It's polished on one side, and it's probably a bookend. There would be another one, I would say, because there's felt on the bottom. Do you have the other one? No. So you're looking around $20, $30. Yeah, thank you. All right, we're back around again. Number 2. Okay.
Late mother, she's got it.
All right.
Always wanted it checked out.
Yep. Well, they reproduced the heck out of these. These are not reproductions. You can just tell by the crispness of the casting. So Roseville is a very recognized name, but it's not a handmade pottery by any means. It's machine made. It's kind of mass produced. Blue is always the most desirable color. Bigger is always better. And chips really, really hurt. So in this particular instance, small, chipped, in a shop, 20, 25 on this. This is a more desirable color, but it's smaller. They're always well marked. This one looks like it didn't suffer damage, so more 40 to 50 on this.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Appreciate you bringing them in. Okay, I think we're number 3 maybe.
You brought a towel.
Yeah. I could use a towel. Want to grab an end or be gentle?
Well, obviously, you have it upside down.
Oh,
Yes.
I'll swap you, yeah. Oh. Certainly Asian, geisha,
Right.
Do you know anything about it?
It came from the home of Dr. An Wang,
Okay,
the computer genius
Oh.
up in Lowell.
okay.
And that's literally all I know.
I mean, I don't think it's hugely old. I think it's probably World War II. I've never seen one this size. I don't know if it's signed. Well, there is a signature down there. This is such a highly specialized area. I shudder at giving you an opinion, but oftentimes these were sent home by GIs to their mom, to their wife, that kind of thing. But this is really a monumental proportion. I would really want to have somebody who knows Asian. It's really just not an area that I'm comfortable with.
Okay.
So rather than guess,
Where did you get it?
I bought it at an estate sale from An Wang's estate.
wow. I mean, I'm sure he was a man of means.
Yeah.
Maybe even as much as I hate to recommend, maybe call up like Skinner and Marlboro.
Okay.
And ask for the head of their Asian department. You can make an appointment with them. You bring it right out. They'll free of charge give you a verbal appraisal.
Great.
And someone that's an expert will look at that signature and say, oh, that's Joe Blow from Idaho.
Yeah.
And then, his work fetches X. And so they'll
Thank
be
you.
able to help you. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, I think we're on 3 maybe?
No, I was 3.
You were 3.
So
4. 4?
I have 2, so I'm 4.
Oh, okay. All right, well, what does the note say?
so I didn't read it because I didn't have my glasses on.
Oh, jeez.
They're on your head.
They're on your You gotta know what the note says. I spend half the day looking for my glasses.
Okay, so it says, made about 1910.
Okay.
Not replaceable.
Oh.
If you could, value between 350 to 400 from Mrs. Kaya, I can't pronounce the last name.
Okay.
Also, 1387 Wallace Homestead Price Guide, meaning that was priced out in a book.
Right.
To Antiques, 8th edition, page 324.
Chapter 4. Yeah.
I know, we're in the Bible.
That was
Sorry,
in
sorry,
1987.
400 to 422.
My goodness. Good luck getting a 10 to that today. You know, I mean, it's just something that, it's Bavarian, but it's just, I can't fathom that it was ever worth that kind of money, to be honest with you. Oftentimes, we call it family lore, and you hear a lot of the roadshow, even though she's quoting a book and a phrase, it could have been very different than what this was. Could I be wrong?
So my
Sure.
sister paid only a few bucks for it.
Perfect. Yeah, it's worth, no, it's probably worth, I'd say $15 to $25 with a strong tailwind.
I'm so good.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
I know, take those.
Okay.
Okay, so again, we were the 4.5 because we came in 2 together. I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
No,
I'm so
you're
sorry.
fine. All right, so we have Greyhound buses, and the toys are still fairly strong, especially boys' toys, and these were boys' toys. The ones that are more valuable are made of cast iron instead of pot metal. We were talking earlier about spelter, pot metal, pig iron, like that bronzed piece was. So these are pot metal. If they were earlier, they'd be iron and worth way, way, way more. So these, in their current state of condition, which isn't great, it would have been all painted white and blue, are worth around $25 to $35 a piece.
Okay, all right, thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank you.
If they were iron, would they be heavier?
They'd be heavier and a lot more detail, I use this term, the degradation of the decades, because things just get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, when you move from the 18s to the 19s and into the 2000s, with few exceptions. So, all right, who's next? 5, number 5?
More.
6? Okay.
Oh, that's you, Bob. Here, Bob. Mary, you bring it up. You bring it up. Your
Don't be
sisters
shy,
are going up for
Mary.
another family member.
Okay.
Family only goes so far.
Yeah.
We
You've been
found these
drinking
in my husband's mother's basement.
husband's mother's
We
basement.
thought they were cool.
They are cool. They're almost
Than
like
your
a,
mother-in-law.
like a pumpkin, they're very,
Take it
very,
back.
they're happy. I gotta see what they say on the bottom. And there's some kind of a numbering system that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. 12301. But they're cute. This, 2 people that are painting a tree, and then this guy's having something to drink. He's very happy, hanging on a street light. They're Italian. Okay, so that makes them a little bit better. So, in terms of value, in a shop, probably 20 each, roughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. 7. Thank you.
You're bringing that one up.
Keeping
I'm done
score.
doing your bidding.
7?
7? Anybody 7?
Yeah. 8?
8? Okay, we'll move on to 8.
Yours is going well.
Yes. Very good.
I know glassware has taken a hit in the last few years. My mother took a fancy to this while she was traveling around and found some pieces.
So, it's obviously a pitcher. And it's made by Halls, which I'm very familiar with. Most of these pieces were out of Ohio. What I like about Halls, they made these refrigerated pitchers in the 20s and 30s that are really wonderful. Different colors. If you bought a GE refrigerator, they'd give you one of these for water. You put water in it. This isn't one of those pitchers, but just when I think of Hall, I think about those. In terms of value, mass-produced, it's amazing it survived. In a shop, 20, 25 bucks.
Yeah, we have quite a few pieces, a nesting set.
Oh.
And I was wondering why these all have these grooves, but this one doesn't.
Just a difference in pattern. This would be a little more intricate, so a bit more valuable than that. Yeah.
Okay, all righty.
But nice. I hope you use them.
No.
Okay. All right, who's next?
So let's let
Number 9.
So this was given to me
Okay,
by a neighbor.
All right.
I didn't polish it.
good. So it's a metal. I'm gonna look at it and see what it says on it.
Yeah.
Open other end, you know? It's learn to labor and to wait, from Alexander Mitchell to Alice Julia Bagley. And then it says second prize in penmanship, public schools of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 1867. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So, you know, back Parma method, I went to parochial school, so I remember the nuns. Yeah. So I don't see it marked as silver, but I can almost positively guarantee you that it is silver. You know, the audience for this would be somebody from Milwaukee, you know, with a local piece.
Yeah.
In terms of value, I think in a shop, you're looking around 50, 75.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
good.
It's a beautiful object.
Different.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, who's keeping track of the numbers?
That should be 8.
To 8, okay.
No, she was 9, right?
She was 9, oh, so 10.
Oh, that's where it's skipping.
Come on now, we're gonna have to get another guy in here.
Observing.
Nothing for 9? 10?
10? Any 10 in the room? No? How about an 11?
All right, it's over here.
All right. Lucky 11. An empty decanter, I hate them like that.
No, it's fun to make.
It's beautiful. What can you tell me about it?
So when my parents first started collecting, they went to an auction, and my dad thought that he was bidding on the pair. I have 2.
Okay.
And he bid $180, and he was so excited because he got it.
Okay.
And it was $180 a piece.
Oh.
So he handed it down to me as an example of hubris.
It's beautiful.
He thought he knew what he was doing,
Yeah.
and he did not.
He did not. But still,
Or maybe he did.
it's wonderful. I mean, I think if I had to guess, it's Czechoslovakian, not a glass expert. It's what they call, you know, red cut to clear. So the whole thing would have been started as red, and then it's actually cut on a wheel cut to go clear, which gives it that beautiful look and kind of a ruby glass-like look. In terms of period, I'm going to say around 1910 to 1920. This market has suffered dramatically. I think he probably kind of paid fairly back then. How long ago was it?
Well, that was 1971.
Oh, wow. Yeah, things were different then. But in a shop, I still think probably $80 to $100 today. It's beautiful and doesn't
For
appear
the
to be
single or for each?
for the single. Yeah.
Because we learned one generation to
That's
do
right.
it.
It's beautiful. It really is. Yeah, good.
Good question.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
It's still a lesson in hubris.
So my great-grandfather came from Prussia,
Okay.
and my mother had a bunch of things from that time. And this has the initials of my grandfather on the top,
Ah,
but I cannot find any information on it.
so it's a little metal. Let me take a look at it with my magic eye here. And it says BAHN, Bon, and then FREI, free.
What did I tell you that meant, Hill?
Born free?
No.
No?
She told me, I forgot.
This
Yeah.
is why I told you, because I know.
So,
Take the path?
I want it to be gold, but I really don't think it is.
I don't think it is
I think it's
either.
gold filled, and then it's got, you know, another fraternal maybe organization around it. It's like NATB.
Right.
I'm not familiar enough. You'd have to kind of Google it.
Okay.
But, you know, it not being gold and not in English and so forth, I mean, in the shop, $10, $15, that kind of thing. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Where are we now?
I have another boring watch, but I have a great story.
Okay, we love great stories. Tell it to the crowd.
So this story is, I live in West Boylston now, but prior to that I lived in Worcester in an older home. And I was in my bushes cleaning out the leaves in between the bushes when something flicked by my eye. And I said, what is that? And I looked, and it was this pocket watch.
Oh, that's cool.
And I couldn't open the back of it. And I said, maybe it doesn't open, maybe it's copper, why didn't it, discolor over time? And my husband came home that night, and he was able to open the back of it. And I did talk to all of my neighbors to find out if anybody was missing this watch because it's inscribed.
Oh.
And one of my elderly neighbors, which I don't think she's elderly in my opinion today, but then she was an elderly, said that there had been a theft in the neighborhood. And some kids had climbed in the back of a weeping willow tree and thrown the things they had stolen out into my yard. So then I wanted to get a metal detector.
Yeah, right.
I didn't.
Smart.
But so this is the watch.
Okay, good story. All right, let's see what we have here. So it is gold.
Oh.
Yeah. And it says Mother to George, December 25th, 1910. And it's made by the Howard Watch Company in Boston, Mass., which is a very upscale maker. It's 17 jewel, but it's adjusted, and I can talk a little bit about that. It's an absolutely beautiful watch.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I need
You need one of those.
security to get out of
Oh,
here.
yeah, right. You got your boots on. Boy, out there is rough. So it's a 16 size watch, and what it means adjusted, better movements like Rolex, and Howard is really up there in terms of an upscale high-end watch company. The watchmaker would adjust the way it ran with the dial up, with the dial down, the dial to one side, the other side, because when you carry it in your pocket, you're in all different positions, just like with a wristwatch, you're in all different positions. So whenever you see a movement that's adjusted, oftentimes they can be adjusted to temperature, you know, they really get into detail, great detail. So it appears to be running. We do recommend
I
cleaning.
did have it fixed.
Okay, you had it cleaned, all right. Who did it, do you recall?
Some watchmaker at Technics.
Oh yeah, that's who I use, yeah. Okay, he's a 4th generation guy, so he's
Oh.
quite competent. So in this market, being gold, 17 jewel, middle of the road, but the gold really helps it. In terms of value, $400 to $500. Two good ones.
Oh, he tells me he does, excuse me, he tells me he does. Because he wanted me to send my watches out to him.
So where are we now?
13.
What number were you?
13, what is it? Oh yeah, she's got them over there. Yeah.
We're on
Folks are on the
14.
way, yeah. 14, okay. Who's 14?
She's not 14, she's around.
Okay.
She's like 18.
Okay. Yeah, we have an age minimum.
Correct.
Is there a 14?
14? I think 14's out, right, 15.
Anybody 15?
14, 15,
15, any 15?
15, I have nothing.
Okay. How about 16?
See, but I have nothing more.
Okay.
We
you're
have
on
a
out.
We now have a 17 and an 18.
Okay, super. Come right up, young lady.
Mark, we
Yes.
also have a
So I think we have
17.
Oh, we have a 17.
We have a 17
Okay,
first.
all right. Come on over, 17.
Really curious if stuff in this. Hold that.
Hello, how are you? Good.
I have a painting that was done, and it's got some coincidences with it. It's a painting of Grafton, Mass. It's by a quite famous painter, Bernard Corey. Bernard Corey painted with my uncle, William Hines. And they would go to Rockport together on weekends and excursions away from their wives and have a painting party. But he was from Grafton, and the irony of this painting, it's on the way to Whitensville on the old 140.
Yeah.
And this particular barn that we passed when I used to go to my grandmother's house, I remember it, but the road was a lot wider and better off.
Sure.
And turns out that I married a gentleman from Grafton, and he used to work in that barn.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
That's a great. So, you know, you knowing this particular artist, do you know what his work brings?
He's
Because,
passed away, but
well, that's a good thing for you.
not so good for him.
But yeah, dead artists always bring more than live ones. Yeah. But I would be hazarding a guess, you know, because I'd have to look up his body of work, which I'm happy to do, but I just can't do it now.
Okay.
So I can give you my card, and if you stop by the shop, which is 2 miles from here,
I know where it is.
I'll do some quick research and you'll know exactly what it's worth.
Okay.
Okay, here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, so 18. Very good. You're right on now. That coffee's kicking in.
Yeah,
But then again, I'm getting old, you know.
We're all getting old.
I have no
Oh, this looks like a good.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Bernard Corey.
Good.
It's
You want
down
to
in
put
the
it right
bottom
up
right
here?
corner.
That's a good plug out.
Is that a what?
What can you tell us about this beautiful lamp?
It came from somebody's house here in West Boylston.
Are they aware that you took it?
They're dead.
Oh, okay, all right.
It is, the name is on it and there's a number.
Do you know what the name is?
Yeah.
So I don't have to.
Remember what it was? Oh, see, people ask me to remind them everything.
Ooh, you want to flip it over with the shade on, right?
Yeah, that's what we did.
Okay, I'll just make sure the nut, want to make sure the nut is tight.
told them to look for the number. I know, you were the one who figured it out.
Well, that's a good name to have. It sure is. So.
What's the
it's
name?
Handel. Yeah, so it's really a wonderful lamp. I love that, it's almost like the shade is a little bit too small for the lamp, very diminutive, but they typically work in bronze as opposed to bronze discs. We could tell if we get it at Snickers. But Handel is a very upscale, not quite Tiffany level, but certainly the next level below. This is called slag glass. And this is kind of a caramel slag glass. It has the original finial, has the original pulls with acorns, which is really delightful. It looks like the original socket. Someone put a red bulb in. That's a little disturbing.
It's weird, yeah.
What's going on in this house? So in terms of value, I want to look at the shade a little more. The shade looks a little too small for the lamp. Let's say that it's right. Probably $450 to $550. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. Very nice.
Minus the red light.
Minus
It's not like,
Was
there
Wow.
his base
That's great.
is different. So you
All
have
right,
to
so
take
we're at 18, or back to 1.
We're back to 1, it
Wow.
wasn't 19.
Okay, no 19, I guess. All right, you're lucky number 1 again.
I'll just bring it and have fun.
All right. Yeah, so it's just a print of,
Get this out.
you know, a scene in Europe that is not terribly exciting. So in a shop, you know, $10, $15 roughly. Yeah, thank you. All right. Anybody else have anything that they want to talk about?
Liz?
Liz? Bring up Liz. Yes, right. She's nodding off.
This is her most prized possession. You better be bringing her happy, this is all I'm saying.
I'll tell you.
just tell her it's beautiful, that's enough.
Yes,
Exactly,
yes.
exactly.
This is your most prized possession. Yes. You know, it's a handkerchief, obviously, and it's got different generals on it.
No, it's not.
Oh, what do you call
It's a
it?
tobacco. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah?
Really? Okay, let me look a little more before I agree with you. It's a tobacco pillowcase. Okay.
She's been, look at the look on her face.
All right. You know, I'll buy that. That makes it better than a hanky. I do love the colors. And, you know, very much an American theme.
Condition is excellent.
Condition is excellent. It's quite beautiful. You should frame it, actually. It's definitely worthy of framing. In terms of value, in a shop, as it is, $75 to $125. It's silk, yeah. I mean, you probably like sent in 1,000 wrappers and they gave it to you, but it's quite interesting. No, really, yeah.
Cigar bands.
So,
Yeah.
so again, this is the second half of 4.
Okay, oh, little skier guy. Oh, that's adorable.
That's what I said.
Little downhill skier, and it's a girl, and she's probably iron, and, you know, would have been part of a set, you know, there would have been a bunch of them. But her alone, where we're so close to Mount Wachusett, she'd probably be like $20, $25. Yeah, adorable.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I
All right, anybody else have anything? Oh, there's
Okay.
one.
And then this lady here came in later.
Okay. How's it going?
It's good.
What can you tell me about this?
All right, it's a ship's decanter,
Yep.
and on the bottom,
It's full now.
yeah, it says Astra.
Huh.
So if you Google the vessel Astra,
Okay.
you come up with 2 choices.
Okay.
One is a Chinese container ship, about 10 years old.
Okay, I don't buy that one.
The other one is a sailing yacht, one of the J boats that was built around 1910 in Newport as ocean racers. And I don't know any way to determine if that's
I can't imagine that this is 10 years old, so I really think we have to rule out the Chinese
That's-
boat. And it's much more in keeping, when you look at this design, the wear, the way it's written, the fact that it's got a cork, I would put it on that vessel, you know, certainly before I would put it on the other vessel. It's just wonderful. I mean, it's so squat, so that you can tell that it would have been on a ship.
Randy?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of value, I love that you can now say definitively it was with this particular vessel. So if somebody collected things from that vessel, that's your ideal recipient for this. I'd say probably 150 to 2.
Great.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I would go.
Okay. We have a
These came
lamb.
over from Vietnam, you know, when my brother-in-law was in the war.
Okay, so he sent it back from
Yeah.
Vietnam?
Yeah, we're thinking.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would tend to agree. You know, looking at the construction and the quality.
And the colors are beautiful with it.
I'll bet,
Very
yeah.
beautiful.
And it's kind of a tin-like material, not terribly old, which we put in the 70s, you know.
Yeah.
Not a tremendous amount of value, probably
Okay.
like $30, $40.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. Look great out on a balcony at night, right?
Yeah,
After a
exactly.
couple glasses of
Mark,
wine.
we've got a lady here.
Okay, lady here, come on up.
Cindy.
Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
I
Another
was
painting.
cleaning out my mom's house. She
Okay.
passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you, and been hanging on to it for a while because I tried researching it. Painting is lovely. I almost want to say it's a watercolor, but the frame is what really got me going. I love the frame. I'll show it over here.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
But
Thank you.
the weird part is, this one's not signed, but there's one on the back. And this one is signed, and it says, and I tried Googling them and I don't get much.
Oh.
Arthur Greenus.
Hmm.
And it was done in May of 1888.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, let me just look a little. And when you come with the other one, then I can certainly look this up, because I pay to subscribe to certain sites that'll
like
show me.
Worth.
Yeah, all that, yeah. So, you know, it's an old frame, you know, 1880s-ish. This material is plastic. It's actually called adamantine, which is a derivative of the word adamant, so they call it adamantine. A lot of the clocks from that period were made out of this material. And then you have your gesso. But if it turns out that that's a painting and not a print, I mean, it's really very well done. So it's worth coming in and letting me do a little research on
Yeah,
it.
the other side definitely is.
Yes, oh yes. Yeah,
Is-
no question in my
Say
mind.
watercolor,
I would say watercolor, yeah.
so that's the one I like.
Yeah, well, we'll swap it around.
Thank you.
No, very uncommon. Yeah, very uncommon.
Mark, we have
You'll have a
someone
third
coming
here.
up.
Okay, come on up, number three.
There's some on the back end that we'll use for some of the board members.
Absolutely.
We'll go from here first.
And 19s, yeah. Okay,
It's detailed.
all right. So these are, you know, looks like a Venice scene, if I had to guess. Venice, Italy,
It's under glass.
the Grand Canal.
I think there's two.
I had the privilege of visiting a few years ago. It was a little disappointing, quite frankly. It's like, well, I liked it, but the Grand Canal is like a toilet. I mean, the people just go, they throw their bottles in it, their cigarette butts, they have no respect whatsoever for it, you know? So another Italian image, a print, and it tells where it is. You know, they're cute, but unfortunately fairly common. Probably in a shop, they'd be around $20 a piece. Yeah, thank you. All right, so now we're on 74. No.
Does anyone have any more? Or actually, my daughter will probably go first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the other
You want to come
car.
up, young lady?
Okay.
Don't be shy. I don't bite.
Too hard.
Too hard, yes. Okay, what can you tell me about it?
Not much. I bought it at an antique store last year. They told me it was roughly 1910. They
Okay.
weren't really positive.
Okay, so, you know, it's a Kodak Brownie. It's a little bit different form. Usually they're quite square. This one's more rectangular. But they were made in masses, you know. So in terms of value, it's kind of a decorative piece in a house. Around $45, $55.
Cool.
Hopefully you paid a little less.
Yes, I did.
Good.
Nice.
Good job.
Good job. Yeah, start them young. It's good to see young people buying old things. Anyone else?
Once you
I was
go,
gonna say, I'm gonna
Okay.
take two of mine.
get a couple back here.
Okay, sure.
I think we're up to 20.
Yeah, I think so too. All right.
All right. Back when my mother died in 2011, I got this package in the mail, and it was from her cousin.
Okay.
And I thought it was a Felton family heirloom. So I just called her up to get the real story, and she didn't even remember. She said, I don't know what it is. Of course, she's, getting up there, and so I guess it's not a family heirloom, but I really like it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's cut glass.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to determine if it's going to be marked sterling.
And I think it's a glove box, or you put your handkerchiefs in.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just taking a quick look.
Yeah.
I see that there's a number 13 written on the inside, and then, or IS, one or the other. Oftentimes they were sterling and other times they weren't.
Okay.
But it is beautiful cut glass, like Victorian era.
Yeah.
And so it's quite uncommon in this form. And it doesn't appear to be damaged, which
No.
is shocking.
I know.
I would say in a shop 75 to 100. Yeah, if it turns out to be marked sterling, about another 25% more.
All right.
It's
Very
beautiful.
good. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Nice piece.
Yeah.
Where are you for numbers, Marty?
I think we're at like 21 or something. Good job. Okay. Oh, that's kind of cool.
So, the story behind this was when we cleaned out my parents' house. This was, my father had this. I don't really know if it was his as a child. He was born in 29, so whatever that works out to be. Or he just picked it up somewhere along the way, and we always wondered what it was. Well, obviously we know what it was, but kind of what,
Yeah, let me look at
a little bit about it.
It's obviously tin litho, and it's kind of neat. Just trying to get a feel for what's here. Almost like a gas station situation.
Yep.
And maybe a car wash. It certainly would have come with other cars.
Sure.
I think it's like from the 1950s. And it's cool. In terms of value, probably 75 to 100.
You think from the 50s, right?
I'd say 50s.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't have to shake it for you.
Hillary, over there.
On this, I'm kind of curious about these skis.
All right, another one of those things, sat around forever and a day.
All right, cameos.
Cameos.
So this lady has a cameo from like the Victorian period. Certainly fallen from favor. Remember my wife wanted one in 1987, and then they really kind of dropped off after that. So it's an original cameo, so it's from a carved conch shell, the conch shells that you see. And I'm just looking at what it's set in. It appears to be silver with a little bit of a gold bead around it. And that would be my final answer. So in terms of value, unfortunately, this market has suffered. We see a lot of gold ones. I probably got 100 of them at the shop. I haven't sold one in years and years and years. No one asks about it. This one being silver and the market being soft, 60, 75, but very hard to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my sister wants to know why I don't wear it.
Well, that's funny.
It is funny. Bring it back.
Yeah. All right. Got some old skis. I don't want to put your finger there. So let's see what they say. Commander. Woo. Yeah, they're kind of cool. I would say they're probably from the 30s, so they're not ancient. I don't think they came with those poles.
Well, we found the poles too, so.
Yeah, those are aluminum. I think they look newer than the skis. But, a lot of people will buy these as decorations and put them in a cross pattern in their log cabin or something like that. But not a tremendous amount of value. Great condition. I love that it has the original labels on them. 50 to 75. Yeah. Thank you. Very nice.
All right, we got,
Okay.
This, I believe, belonged to my grandmother, whose father came from Prussia.
Prussia, okay.
I was off it.
It's great. It's like
It's a perfume thing.
Yeah, I'm going to unscrew it and just see if there's a little dauber. Yeah. Actually, I would disagree.
Okay.
I think it's for snuff.
Oh.
Yeah, because it has a little tiny spoon on the end of it, and cocaine wasn't hot at this period, so I'm being facetious, but it's an adorable little piece. I'm quite certain it's silver, and I would say it was for snuff because of the spoon. If it just had a straight dauber, but the spoon is usually indicative of it.
It always smelled very nice when I was younger.
Yeah,
many years ago.
Yeah, scented stuff. It still has an odor to it. It's really cute. It has a little cabochon sapphire on the top. In a shop.
Would women use that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Women and men can use it.
Women needed it more.
As a little pickup. In terms of, I would say 60 to 75. It's really a nice
I just wanted to
piece.
know what it was.
No, it's great.
A drug dealer might pay more.
There you go.
I'm sorry?
Bringing this up for Jan.
Okay.
She's right there.
All right, cool. I'll put it up there so people can see. Hi.
Great.
Oh, that's good. He came over and ate.
So what can you tell me about it? Nothing much.
I've had it probably about 30 years. I picked it up from Maine
Okay,
at a yard sale.
okay.
And having grandchildren, I thought somebody, but I really didn't think anybody would want that.
Oh, well, someone that loved, Peter
Yeah.
Pan, or
Yeah.
Pinocchio rather,
Yeah.
right? And Geppetto, and I don't know who those guys are, but.
Blue
Fairy.
Oh, who is it?
The Blue Fairy.
Okay, the Blue Fairy.
It's good.
And the whale?
see it?
Can we
see
Oh, sorry.
Jiminy Cricket.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's a mirror.
Yep. It's a good reflection on you. So, it's not terribly old. Like, when I look at the construction, I think it's like 1970s, 1980s. So it wouldn't be a cell. It's almost trying to be a cell from
That's
an
about
original.
when I got it in somebody's yard sale.
Okay, so, it's cutesy, in terms of value, 25 to 50.
I didn't know whether the fact that
Well, it doesn't hurt it, because this is
Yeah.
a licensed product now instead of a knockoff.
I didn't know how those things were going.
Yeah, it's not super old, that's the problem, so, yeah, 25 to 50. Okay? Do you want me to carry it back for you? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Paid for it.
Okay, good for you. Good for you.
Come on up, Des.
Here comes the president.
Here comes
El Presidente.
That's in Hamilton. Here comes the president.
Hello, Dennis.
Hello.
What can you tell us about this?
Okay, in 1962, they had a World's Fair out in Seattle, Washington. And I was in high school at the time. And I had a distant cousin that lived in the Seattle area, and we went out for the World's Fair for a week or so. And this is a genuine Jim Beam decanter bottle from the World's Fair. And I did not bring it back with me. My son gave me this for my birthday one time.
Nice.
So, but
Is
it
it
is
full?
an original. No.
So it's great. I mean, it's a form I've never seen before, and I just think it's wonderful. I'm going to look underneath, and it's got quite a dissertation about 1962, etc. Regal China. I think it's neat. Most Jim Beam decanters aren't worth much, but this one I think is an exception to the rule. So I'm going to say in a shop, $50, $60.
Oh, right.
Very nice.
Okay.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's not full. I already have. I would have taken a slug out of it.
Oh, I want to see what that one was.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, wow, they're great. See, these are really unique. So I don't know if you can see these folks, but, they appear much, much older. When Mickey looks like a rat, literally.
That's how we started.
Mickey the rat. That's it. Mickey the rat, yes. They're just great. I mean, they really are great. They probably had a copyright Walt Disney Productions on them someplace. I don't see that. Very odd form. Wood, almost with like a wax on them. I think they're wonderful. So in terms of value, age like 20s-ish, 20s up into the 30s. And I think they're probably worth 100 to 150 for the pair. Yeah. Very nice. Thank you. Hello. What can you tell us about this?
Just that it's a Viewmaster, and I have several pictures that go with it.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yep. So, Viewmaster was a later term that was used for like GAF when you put the disc inside it and it had a battery. So these are stereo optical viewers. And what's neat about these is they actually took two pictures, and when you look through this and you get just the right focal distance, it appears to be a three-dimensional picture. So, the viewers themselves, quite common, just the viewer, $25, $35 in a shop. Some of them can be extremely elaborate. The cards can get valuable. The ones that are common are more places like this, vacation places. I'd have to actually kind of take a look at each one. If you have odd subject matter, it's hard to show you. like Black Americana as an example, or theatrical things. These are kind of common, quite frankly. But, you know, this whole lot of cards is another, say, $20, $25. So you did well. Hopefully you bought that one a little better. Okay. That's great.
Carol has another one.
Somebody else over here?
Carol got one more.
Okay. All right. So these are kind of.
39 World's Fair.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are very collectible. 1939 World's Fair. It's a real iconic image, the ball and the spear.
And salt and pepper.
And salt and pepper and silver plate, I'm sure. So this guy, as kind of a paperweight, would be about $30, $40. And then the salt and pepper, I think a little bit more, like $40, $50.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very desirable.
Came
1939
from
New York World's Fair.
my mother or my aunts or whatever, you know, when they pass away, you clean out.
Yeah.
and-
Very cool.
But I think they're cool.
Hello.
Hi, I have a howdy.
Howdy doody.
But his hand, your foot, and 2 hands came off. I
Oh,
don't want to put
no.
them on because I don't want to destroy it.
Yeah, it was an amputation on the way over.
Yes.
Huh?
No, it was already off.
So, howdy
No.
doody. You know, he's like a hard plastic as opposed to bisque, which earlier ones would have been. And where he's got some severed limbs, that certainly doesn't help the value.
Nope.
He's probably a marionette, if I had to guess. And I would say the value in this kind of condition is about $40 or $50. Yeah. Thank you. Hope you take care of them.
I will. This is really weird. We had it going yesterday.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And I don't know if this key belongs to it or if somebody.
But it
just
does
joined
fit?
I don't know. I don't know where you.
Where you want it?
Yeah.
But you said you had it going yesterday, right?
Well, yeah, but like the save the tail.
Yeah, well, that's the cable right here.
Where? Oh, we found it. Excellent.
And
It's out of sight.
I'm just gonna give it just a little bit of a whine.
Oh, there it goes.
Look at that.
And his head goes up and down.
Oh, that's wonderful. You know, I bet it's German. I mean, they were so creative then. This is just look at how cool that is. I don't want to overwind it and blow the mainspring, but, you know, if you put a little pin oiler and put a couple drops of oil through the hole there, it would really work wonders in terms of getting his head and his tail going. But it's just extraordinary. I mean, how he survived is incomprehensible. In terms of value, surprisingly high. It's a German toy, probably from about the 1930s. Has a clockwork mechanism in it and multiple functions. I'm going to say around $100, $125. Oh,
wow.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Dinner on Carol tonight.
Okay.
Another camera?
Okay.
Can we see it?
So the old home movie cameras, you know, very cool to sit on the shelf as just a piece to admire, but unfortunately not a whole lot of value monetarily at this time. By the time you get to be my age, it'll probably be worth a lot. In terms of value in a shop right now, like maybe $15, $20. Yeah. Thank you so much.
I think you paid like 2 for it.
Oh, you did great.
Yeah. Crazy.
Does anybody have anything else?
Nope, I think they're all set. Wow, those are great. Those are wonderful.
We don't know if they're like a salesman's sample.
I mean, everybody wants small things to be salesman samples.
Right, but.
Yeah, but they're, you know, the detail is great, and they actually have a cat gut in between.
Yeah.
So I think they're probably from the 30s or 40s. They're just adorable.
Yeah.
And just, I think they'd be very collectible. The leather's in good shape.
Yeah, they're in like new condition.
Yeah, I'd say 50 to 75.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, I do too.
Just
I hang
great.
them up.
That's
so.
awesome. Good stuff.
All right. My last
Okay.
night.
Okay. Okay, so we have a little carriage, you know, for a doll. Okay, so it's got that wonderful little canopy that would have gone right on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely adorable. I don't think it's American looking at it. I think it's probably European in terms of age, teens to 20s. I love the wheels. I love the paint. Be great with a bear in it or a doll, and that should be put back on.
Yes.
In terms of value in a shop with that back installed, 75 to 125. Yeah, very nice. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, dear.
What do you know about, and it sounds I almost gag every time I say it, jewelry that has hair in it.
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, we get those pieces
Yeah, my
frequently. and they're-
daughter got a
they're-
ring from my mother-in-law that had hair in it. So
Yeah.
why did people do that?
Well,
What were their reasons?
Yeah, I mean, they're called mourning pieces, M-O-U-R, okay? And, you know, back in that day, they'd take a lock of the child's hair or the loved one's hair, and they'd keep it as a remembrance of the individual. I've actually seen entire wreaths made from hairs. Yeah, it's creepy, but collectible. I mean, I recently sold it was a bracelet, and it had this beautiful little thimble with a gold hinge on it, and it sold for some considerable money. The workmanship is so extraordinary, and some of them, you know, fine detail. I can't imagine weaving human hair. But people had patience back then.
Before TV.
Before TV, yeah. I mean, mostly Victorian, 1870 to 1900 roughly. And you see rings, bracelets, you see whole wreaths, all kinds of things.
It was a ring that my mother-in-law had left, and my daughter chose it, and I said, oh, it's the ugliest ring I've ever put it back.
Yeah.
And about a year later, one of the sides kind of just dropped off,
Oh.
which we didn't know.
Okay.
And then you could see, I didn't know what it was.
Mhm.
Then the other side came off, and then we started looking into hair jewelry. And I didn't know the era,
Yeah.
or if it was for babies that might have passed away.
Oftentimes babies, I've got one at the shop that's a gold serpent, and in its mouth is like a diamond, and then there's a little heart, and it's got the baby's hair, and the baby passed away in like 1865. So really cool. But there's a niche market for people that collect mourning jewelry, it's called. And it's desirable to a certain degree. Oftentimes set in gold, and so there's value in that alone. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
What classification items are hot right now?
That's a great question. The lady's asking what's hot right now. You know, jewelry is super hot, and that's why we focus on it. Men's vintage and high-grade wristwatches, extremely hot. It's a huge part of our business. We have a fourth-generation watchmaker. Anything gas and oil, like oil cans, signs for Texaco, Mobil, things like that, you come to my store. I've got a United Auto Service. In not great condition, I paid $2,000 for it. The average person would look at it and say, I wouldn't pay $10 for it. So what people threw away oftentimes is what's valuable today. So that's hot. Toys are still very hot. We also do a lot with guns, knives, swords, and military. Very hot areas. So we keep changing as things change. If we stayed in the furniture and glass business, we'd be out of business. So that kind of stuff. Oddball things, coin-operated things. We do cigarette lighters and fountain pens, odd ones. So it's really the oddball things that bring money. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I mean, they have to be kind of special to be valuable. It's just a plastic button. A woman came in this week with a whole bin full of them. And there were none that were special. So she might have had a couple thousand buttons that were $50. But if you have special buttons, like say Coco Chanel, or they have a figure of a horse or a dog or something special, they can be worth $50, $100 for a single button. Yeah, those would be more common. If they're earlier and really fancy, they're probably worth $10, $15 a piece. They just say BFD, not so much. Yeah, depending on the age and how much detail there is on the button. Yeah. Other questions, comments, concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if there's a silver, someone that did silver?
So to replate it. Most of them are in the Providence area, Providence, Rhode Island, and they still do it. It's quite expensive, and I would just tell you, do it for sentimental, not monetary reasons. Because most plate is literally worthless. There are some exceptions. If it's really ornate, really figural, really large, something important, but your average bowl that's plated is worth $2 or $3. But if it was your mom's and it's worth $1 million sentimentally, it's worth doing. But you never get your money back out of it. Yeah.
It'd be a few $100.
It probably would be, yeah. So you'd have to really love it to put that kind of money into it. Yeah. Everybody, I think we're good.
Thank you. This was great. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. there's more food, coffee, wine.
Great. Thanks for
Everyone's
having me.
around for
Carol, did you talk
chit-chat.
about the future events at all?
Oh, April 23rd is our trip to the Willett Clock Museum.
April 28th.
The 28th, sorry, the 28th, to the Willett Clock Museum. We'll be posting on the West Boylston Neighbors Connect and the Facebook. It'll be, you know, in the item. We encourage you to come. May is our annual meeting, and that's at Wachusett Country Club. And we have a fellow who is going to reenact John Adams. And we will learn all about John Adams. And then that's the end of the year, and then we will start up again in September. So thank you all for coming.
Great. Plenty of food left and drink.
Yes, plenty of food.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.